Today we're taking a look at Roccat's Kone XP Air, which is one of their newest gaming mice and has some killer features to go along with it, so let's hop into it.
In the box, that's getting the mouse itself, you're gonna get your dongle for that wireless pairing, a USB-C to USB-A cable, and then finally, which is a cool addition, you also get a charging dock you can use with this mouse, which is sort of similar to what we've seen with Razer.
The included USB-C cable that you get with the XP Air is nothing super special, it just being a braided cable, though it is decently flexible for being included with the wireless mouse. But of course, we're more worried about what the function of it is, and you can use it, of course, to charge the mouse directly by plugging into the front port on the mouse, or you can use it in conjunction with the cool charging dock they include by plugging it into the back of that. Along with that, the charging dock itself just looks really cool with the RGB ring along the bottom. When it's plugged in, lights up, and you can also customize that as well if you want to have it light up in a specific way. On the front of the charging dock, you also do get a USB-A port, so if you want to plug your dongle in there, you can kind of consolidate it all into one spot, which is pretty cool. For connectivity on the Kone XP Air, you do get a few different options, which is nice to see. You can, of course, use it with that dongle, which is using a 2.4 gigahertz wireless connection, going to give you the most reliable and fastest connection, but you also have the option of switching it over to Bluetooth, which can be easily done on the bottom through a switch, which can be slid either all the way one way to Bluetooth or all the way the other way to have it in that dongle wireless pairing mode. And along with that, of course, if you want to use it wired, or if you're in a situation where your mouse is dead and you need to plug it in, you can use it with the wire plugged in as well. For battery life on Roccat's website, when speaking about the Kone XP Air, it does mention that it gets all the way up to 100 hours on a full charge, and that just 10 minutes of charging can actually get you up to 5 hours of playtime. I know I've not specifically timed it out to see how accurate it is, but for me, so far with the mouse, as long as I'm just charging it every few days, I've had no issues with it dying on me, so it should be the same case for you guys. The XP Air is not the lightest mouse, coming in at 99 grams, but not really expected to be either, with being the type of mouse it is, a larger ergonomic shape, and of course, a ton of features packed in here. You get 15 buttons that you can easily access just on the mouse with your hand on it. So yes, not the lightest, but with the shape and feel of it in hand, I don't have any issues with that weight. It feels nice. With the heavier weight and its larger design, of course, as we would expect, it is pretty solid. I've had no issues with it feeling weak or bending or flexing in my hand. It feels really solid overall, and you do get a really cool design on the mouse itself with that translucent top shell, which when the RGB is on, shines through really nicely. And I do have the black version. There is a white version as well, which I'm sure with the white version, that effect is probably only amplified to a greater degree, but a very cool look. And on the sides as well, you do get a little bit of a different texture with some horizontal running grooves, and it feels nice in hand. It gives a nice little grippier texture where you want it to be on those side panels as well. Though the top shell does look really cool, I will mention though, it does pick up those finger oils quite easily, which I'm sure you guys will be able to see in the B-roll. Taking a look at the bottom of the mouse, you're gonna get two bigger PTFE white feet, one in the front, one in the back. You're gonna get some smaller ones, one underneath that thumb button, and then a ring around the sensor there. And then right down below that, you actually have a spot to store the dongle. So if you are wanting to take this as a travel mouse or use it in that Bluetooth mode, you can actually store the dongle right in the bottom of the mouse too, which is a nice option to have. For the sensor they're using on this, it is Roccat's Owl-Eye optical sensor, which offers up to 19K DPI adjustment. And so far for me, I have had no issues with it, been very precise and smooth with no spin outs or faultiness. There is of course a ton of buttons to access on the top of this mouse, but for their two main switches on their front left and right mouse clicks, they are using their Titan optical switches, which boast all the way up to that 100 million click life cycle. And yes, they weren't my favorite switches when they first came out on the things like the Burst Pro, because I had some quality control issues with them. I felt with some of my clicks just feeling mushy, but so far with their newer mice, I've not seen that present. A much cleaner feeling, more snappy response, and for an optical switch, I think they feel nice. Of course, not maybe quite as crisp as an actual mechanical switch in some mice, but still work good for what they are, and they do have that benefit of lasting a lot longer than some of the normal mechanical switches. There is some pre and post travel present in those front mouse clicks, but nothing too drastic and over the top, nothing that we're not used to seeing. And as far as the scroll wheel itself though, really nice feeling. The stages are defined in each roll of it, but not to the point where it's like a ratcheting motion. In the side to side clicks, they are a little bit hard to get into, but once you get a feeling for how to push it, not that difficult at all, as well as that push in on the scroll wheel. As far as all the other mouse buttons, I don't use them as often in my games. I tried to bind them to some different things just to get a feel for them, but for me personally, I'm not someone who takes advantage of a lot of these side buttons, but overall, going through them all, they feel really nicely, and you guys will hear them all in the sound test as well. I've had no issues with any of them specifically just being really mushy or having way too much pre or post travel in them. Overall, all feel really nice, and one of my biggest worries with the thumb button down here was just the fact that maybe maybe I would keep pressing it a lot, but really they made it hard enough to where you can't click it easily, but also easy enough to push it down when you want to use it. So I've actually not had any issues with me activating it accidentally. So I do really appreciate the placement of that because I think it's going to be very easy to access for you guys that will take advantage of it. You can find Roccat's XP Air for $170, which I'll have linked in the description down below. So definitely a steep price point. And of course, that is with the included charging dock as well, but quite a bit more expensive than a lot of the other flagship mice that are even out right now, or at least comparable with some of them. But I will say this is definitely more of a situational mouse depending on what kind of gamer you are or what you're gonna be using it for. Because right now you can get the Kone Pro Air, which is the same shape of this mouse. Of course, the only thing you're lacking at is a lot of these extra buttons. And for me, that's what I would go with because I don't take advantage of these extra buttons. But if you're someone who finds yourself playing a game where you can really take advantage of all these extra buttons and some of the cool features like the charging dock that comes along with it, then I would say it's probably gonna be worth it. But for a majority of people that aren't gonna be using all those extra buttons or not gonna even have the reason to have all those extra keybinds in a game, I would maybe recommend going with some of the cheaper options that are out there, but maybe lack some of the features of this mouse. But if you love an ergonomic shape, you're gonna be able to take advantage of those extra buttons and you like the RGB, like the charging dock, then I would say it's definitely worth it for the price point as it's not that outrageous compared with some of the other flagship offerings. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Hit the like button, subscribe if you enjoyed it, and check out some of these other videos that are on the screen right now.